Hey YouTube, so this is a deck profile for Ruby Steel for set 9. This is the Raya version of this. I did post a video about this in the past for set 8. It didn't do as well in set 8, but I did test it quite a bit until it got about as streamlined as I could get it for that set. But into that meta with all the removal it had, it could never really get set up, so it was very inconsistent. In this deck, in this set, it's much better. So I wanted to go over it. It does feel like a competitive deck that can win against most, if not all, of the other decks. It just depends on how you play, and you kind of have to have the right strategy depending on which deck it is. But it's, as you can see, it's only 2 lines of cards, so it's a pretty streamlined deck, and it's very specific on what it's trying to do, which is kind of nice because I'm not thinking that I'm having to go through too many decision trees along the way. I'm just trying to find very specific paths to where I think that I could win. So we can get started with this. Again, you can see by the name or the title, it's Raya and One Last Hope for this set. It's basically built around the idea of Raya and to some extent Maui with being able to loop by taking out as many characters as possible on a single turn. And then One Last Hope kind of drives that by being able to allow your hero characters to attack ready characters and also to have resist +2. So I want to quickly go through just the cards that are in here. Mulan 1, this is really good as just a shift target for Mulan, the 5 cost shift, the 6 cost Mulan that takes out characters. This paired with Strength of a Raging Fire is kind of your best card removal or character removal for the board. Mulan is also really good at filtering cards. I usually use her to get Evil Comes Prepared into my discard, and more on that later. But if I don't have Mulan on 1, it's not always the worst thing, as long as I have some of the other characters after that. Sometimes not, or having the card advantage a little bit early can actually be helpful, so it's not the worst thing in the world. Lumiere is there just as kind of a tech card to give my other characters +1 strength. There's a lot of characters that have 4 willpower that you play into, so it's really difficult to hit into those, especially with like Raya that only has 2. The Mulan 4 has 3 strength, so it makes it difficult for those to be impactful. So the Lumiere is really helpful with that. Powerline is a Singer 4, more on that later, but usually that's for One Last Hope or Strength of a Raging Fire. Doc is Doc, just there for card draw. Ariel is there. This is a new card. It gives evasive to one of your other characters when you sing a song. So that one's really important, especially into some of the evasive decks that we play into. Raya is what everything is playing off of. This one is during your turn, whenever this character banishes another character in a challenge, you may ready this character. If you do, she cannot quest for the rest of this turn. So this is kind of one of your board wipes. Mulan for the 4-drop is to be able to attack ready characters, be able to attack evasive characters. Phil is kind of another tech card the way that Lumiere is, to give Challenger +1 to your heroes, since this is mostly a hero deck. Mushu's there for lore gain. It's also there for resist on challenges, so if you banish any of your characters banish a character on a turn when Mushu's out, you get 2 lore, and then also you have resist +2 for all of your challenges. Queen of Hearts is there for anytime you challenge a character with any of your characters, you get card draw. So that's always important, especially for Ruby Steel. Maui Half Shark is always really good. There is a loop that you can play with One Last Hope and Evil Comes Prepared. So basically, if you get that loop going, your opponent really can't play any other cards unless it's a card to remove Maui, which can kind of end a game sometimes, which is pretty fun. Mulan Elite Archer. This one is a bit of a board wipe. If you shift it, so you have 2 shift targets in this deck. You have the 1-drop Mulan and you have the 4-drop Mulan. If you shift this, Mulan becomes a 5/6 on that turn. And then once you've done damage, you can do that same amount of damage to 2 other characters. So this is a good way to be able to take out some of the evasive characters, or if the board starts to get out of your control a little bit. Sometimes this is how you can kind of bring it back. Evil Comes Prepared. This one is an action that readies a chosen character of yours. If it's a villain character, you gain 1 lore. It almost never happens because all I have is Queen of Hearts in this deck. But I'm assuming at some point that will come into play and it'll be helpful. But for now, it's mostly to ready chosen characters. One Last Hope, you can see in the title, it's Raya and One Last Hope is kind of how this deck works. Chosen character gains resist +2 until the start of your next turn. If it's a hero character, they can also challenge ready characters this turn. So that's really important for when you get into a stalemate and you want to take control. It's also a bit of a board wipe. You can pair it with some of the ways of giving Raya more strength. And then every time she's taking out characters, she's readying herself. So really you can wipe their whole board. Aerial paired with that can give Raya evasive, so you can even hit some of their evasives. So One Last Hope is really what this whole deck revolves around. Strength of a Raging Fire is just there for removal, and then Medallion Weights is there for card draw and for the 2 strength. So first, just to go over where the card draw comes from, I am using Dock. I tried using Desperate Plan. I tried using Beyond the Horizon. I didn't like any of these. A lot of times they just felt clunky. Dock feels really good, especially in this deck, if you have Lumiere, because you're able to give Dock extra strength that way. And then it also pairs really well with Medallion Weights. I've had a couple Docks out before that are hitting for 4 with Medallion Weights triggered on them, just because they have a Lumiere, and then you can trigger Medallion Weights. And you get a card draw when it's taking something out. So a Dock can be really impactful, even though it's just a 1/3. That 1/3 becomes really good, especially if you're playing against a lot of characters that only hit for 2, because then it can live 1 more turn, and maybe it makes them have to attack into your Dock on the next turn. Queen of Hearts is really good. I don't shift the Queen of Hearts just because I couldn't find room for it, and it doesn't really feel great. I have played with it quite a bit with that shift line there, but without a whole new world, it doesn't feel as good as it used to. There used to be the thing where you could use Robin Hood, or you could use the Queen of Hearts shift, and you could use Whole New World on turn 3, which was really, really big for a Ruby Steel deck. But I actually like the meta that we're in right now, and just using this on turn 5, and potentially even being able to attack ready characters with Raya, and wiping some of their smaller characters and getting card draw that way. And then Medallion Weights. A lot of this deck really does work around Medallion Weights. If you have this on the board, you're in pretty good shape. If you can't find it, then you usually have card draw issues. I think a lot of what this deck needs, it's through Medallion Weights. So this is where the card draw is. These are just there for extra damage. So again, I ran into, or what I noticed pretty early in this set is everything that you're attacking has up to, for the most part, they kind of average around 4 willpower. And because of that, you need to be able to buff your other characters in order to make them hit a little bit harder. So like even the Mulan that can hit ready characters is a 3/3. Both of these cards, Lumiere and Phil, will make her a 4/3. You could even play it on the next turn, and in that way you're able to take some things out that you normally wouldn't be able to. Medallion Weights is really good for that same purpose. You can be kind of sneaky with Medallion Weights and play it and use it on the same turn. It costs 4 to do that. But a lot of times if you have a lot set up ahead of time and then you play Medallion Weights in that way, it's surprising, and it also gets you a bunch of card draw and buffs your characters. Where the turn before they might think, well, there's nothing that you can take out because you don't have anything that hits for 4, so you'll have to put multiple into it. All of a sudden you bring out Medallion Weights and you have a Raya, and now the Raya can wipe their board. So these are the 3 that I'm using just for extra damage. The Phil's kind of good as a 2-lore quester too. Also, it's nice that whenever you play a hero character, you gain 1 lore, because most of this deck is heroes. Just going over how you want to play the start of the game. So this really is the optimal start. On turn 4, you can have played all of these cards. So a lot of times when I mulligan, I try and find Medallion Weights. If I don't see Medallion Weights, Maybe I'll keep like a Raya and a power line if I see them, but otherwise I hard mulligan and try and find medallion weights because it's just really important. Like by turn 4, if you can be using medallion weights and maybe even using it on a Mulan or on your power line just to get more card draw and keep going, that can keep you alive for long enough to get into the late game. But really, what you want to do, Mulan on 1. A lot of times I use her to put Evil Comes Prepared into the discard, and I'll go over that next. But that's really good if you start your hand with Mulan and Evil Comes Prepared. It means you already have a card that you really want in your discard. So it's an easy way to get it in there without using it, or without using the ink later. Powerline's really good as a singer on turn 2. This is something I was missing last set that's really good. Having a singer on 2 means on turn 3, if you play all 3 of these cards, you can use Strength of a Raging Fire to hit something for 3. You can also use the Aerial on turn 3 if you're doing that with Strength, just because you can give Powerline Evasive on that turn through Aerial's ability. And then that means that it can kind of save Powerline if they don't have any evasive characters out. So that's really good. Powerline, though, is really meant for this start. So you play Raya on 3. Again, Raya readies herself every time she takes out characters. The biggest issue with Raya is that she only hits for 2 and she only has 3 willpower. The 3 willpower is solved usually by One Last Hope. The 2 strength is solved really easily by medallion weights. So what you do is you play Mulan, Powerline, Raya, and then on turn 4, you sing One Last Hope with Powerline onto Raya. So now she's a 2/3 with 2 resist, and she can attack ready characters, so she could wipe the board if possible, or if there aren't any evasives. Then you play medallion weights for 2, and then trigger medallion weights for the other 2. Remember, this is turn 4. So now you put that onto Raya. She's a 4/3 with 2 resist, and every time she takes out a character, she's drawing a card. I've done this before where they're playing an aggro deck and they get an amazing start. Maybe they're up to even like 12 lore, and you just wipe their board. And then on the next turn, you can go back and play the Mulan 4 that can attack ready characters. And now they're in quite a bit of trouble from all of the future turns, just because medallion weights and that Mulan that can attack ready characters is basically taking out anything it wants every turn. If you're able to get Mushu out, you're gaining lore every time, and you're getting card draw off the medallion weights, and she'll have resist +2, so it just kind of, it snowballs for you in that way if you can start to get ahead. So this is the optimal start. This is really surprising to some people. Again, it's a way to counter hyper aggro when you are on the draw. You just have to stay calm and really not like throw anything at any of their characters early that you don't have to. But it just depends. Tiana's really difficult. I think Tiana's really difficult for everybody. If they get 2 of those out, you're just in trouble. And there's nothing you can really do. Next is the Maui loop. So basically, what I just went over, I believe, is a small version of this Maui loop. So basically, Raya is this early, and then Maui is Raya late. So, like I said, the deck is very specific about what it's trying to do, and it feels very good at what it does if you're able to get characters to stick. And again, set 9, characters are sticking a lot longer than they used to, so this does come up a lot more often. But basically, I went over Mulan. I'm usually trying to get Evil Comes Prepared into my discard. So basically, all you need in your hand in late game is just Maui and a One Last Hope. If you get Maui to stick, and you have One Last Hope in your hand, or you draw into it, on the next turn, if you have a Singer, or you have, even if you have Mushu out, Mushu's really good to sing One Last Hope, because you're going to wipe their board. And you're going to gain lore, and usually that keeps Mushu safe. If you have an Aerial out and a Mushu, you can give Mushu evasive, that can be helpful too, or you can just sing it with Aerial. So there's a lot of ways that you can be ink efficient with this. But the main thing is you sing or you play One Last Hope onto Maui the turn that it's dry, and then every time you attack one of their ready characters with your 2 resists, so you're very strong and not taking damage most of the time. You use the ability that when you attack a character, you pull back an action. That's when you pull Evil Comes Prepared back out of your discard. And then now you can ready Maui for 2. Remember, too, the One Last Hope is giving Maui a lore. Evil Comes Prepared, you ready Maui, it gives you a lore. If you're attacking and there's a Mushu on the board, you're gaining 2 lore every time you're taking out a character. Grab one, or Evil Comes Prepared again out of your discard, play it, you gain 1 lore, hit something else, gain 2 lore. So you see what I mean? It runs out of control really quickly. And it's not that hard to set up because of Mulan, and because Evil Comes Prepared can be pretty good early in a game, whether or not you're just getting it into your discard or you use it. Even if you shifted a Mulan later, you can get it into your discard that way and get some benefit out of it. So it's pretty good. This happens a little bit less often, but this is a game closer, especially when you hit a stalemate. This happens much more often, where you have Raya, you have Medallion Weights, and you find a One Last Hope or some variation of that, and now you're wiping their board. If you have Raya and you have Ariel out, and you can sing One Last Hope with Ariel, you can give Raya evasive that way, add 2 strength, card draw, and now you're wiping, genies and some of these other evasive characters that you shouldn't be able to hit that are already they're all readied on that turn, and you're taking them out and gaining card draw for each of those. Especially if you have Mushu, now you're gaining lore every time. So you can kind of see how there's a lot of board wipe mixed into this deck. But the Maui loop, it can close a game, and it is pretty demoralizing, I'd say, when the opponent knows that they can't play a character because you'll start this over again. And basically, the real thing to remember is on your very last turn where you take something out with Maui, you have to pull One Last Hope back out of your discard so you can start the loop again the next turn. If you forget to do that, then you won't be able to attack ready characters, and you kind of give them the ability to breathe. But on the next turn, if you take One Last Hope, they know that they can't play any characters because you're just going to do that loop again and gain lore. So it kind of puts them into a stalemate sometimes. And that is it. So this is the deck. I've been pretty happy with it. I've tried many iterations of this. This is the cleanest version of it that I've run into. A couple of the characters that I could see changing out. Phil, I did try Moana there for a while, but for the way that this deck plays, Phil has just been more helpful, especially because you can play it on the turn after the Mulan 4, so you can make it a 4-3 that attacks ready characters. Yeah, I think that's it. The real issue that you run into with any of the decks right now is finding a way to damage evasive characters. You do have that with your 3-cost Ariel. You can Medallion Weights that Ariel and make it hit harder. You have the 4-cost Mulan that's also evasive on your turn and challenges ready characters. Ariel can give evasive to your other characters if you sing a song. Also, your Maui Half Shark once you get that late in the game. And then even the Mulan Shift, if they have anything else that you can hit with that Mulan Shift, now you can target their evasive characters with that. So there is a lot of removal for the evasives. There's a lot of removal for if they get their board wider than yours and you're trying to catch back up. And so for those reasons, I do believe that you can catch back up if you are on the draw or if you start to fall behind a little bit. Anyway, that's this deck. This is how I'm going to be starting this set. I am very optimistic, much more optimistic than I was last set. Last set, I was having a lot of fun with the Raya One Last Hope setup. This set, it feels like it actually is competitive. So we'll see how the rest of the set goes, but if you have any questions, let me know. And if you want to watch me play, I should be popping onto Twitch and playing every so often. My Twitch handle is Gherkin, so same name that's on the top of the screen. Anyway, thanks for watching. See ya.